What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. It's time for the recap, if you will, or the post-mortem of the rooting guide from last week. Some people like these videos, and again, we've gotten to the point in the season where this stuff is starting to matter a little bit more. So let's take a look at the results from the most recent week and how they've affected things. Um, Starts on Thursday night. This game, pretty low consequence, but we did want the Panthers to lose so their pick would get up as high as possible. Um, it might be a little bit of a lost cause. I don't think, and I could be wrong, I don't get the sense that the Panthers are bad enough to actually go like 1-16 or 2-15. I feel like they have to win some games eventually, but hey, if they want to keep losing and keep that pick, which by the way goes to the Bears, as high as possible, then that's obviously awesome. And at this point, they look like they're, I don't want to say pole position, but if they want it, it's there for them for sure. They've got one win, and if they kept losing, they'd be good. So pretty good result there. Going into the stuff on Sunday, Colts Patriots. We wanted the Patriots to lose kind of for the same reason. We want these teams that are not the Cardinals and Rams to get the highest picks. And if you go to Tankathon right now, you can see that that Carolina pick is the top pick. New England's pick is third, and both teams are picking ahead of Arizona right now, who are at fourth. So that's kind of the money shot there. That's what we really want. So that's a good result. Texans Bengals. This one was big. This one was actually really low key nice to get. It's not something that people are going to be thinking about all that much by the end of the season, but the Texans look like a decent team. The Texans look like a team that could end up with 8 or 9 wins, maybe even make the playoffs, and that's going to mean that second Cardinals first round pick isn't that high. That gives them less ammunition to rebuild with come draft day. So that was a great outcome for us. Again, we're going to root for the Texans in almost every game they play, I think, just because of that. And it's a fun story as well. They're playing good football down there. They've rebuilt very quickly. I like what they're doing. I like how they did it. And yeah, good result. Saints Vikings. I'm still torn on this one. There were arguments either way, but the Saints losing does mean that our potential third round pick gets boosted up a little bit, which is good. And by the way, now that the Saints have lost Derek Carr to a potential injury, as well as Lattimore and I think Michael Thomas, there could be a real issue there for New Orleans. Like they might just not be a good team this year. However, it is now within the realm of possibility that we don't get the Saints pick because the Broncos have actually won a few games in a row now, so we might get the Broncos pick. And by the way, the big issue here is that the Saints might still win their division even if they're bad because their division is bad. So it could be a scenario where the Saints go like 8-9, but it doesn't matter that much. They still make the playoffs, so their pick is still a little bit lower. So on the other hand, you have the Vikings here, who suddenly are 6-4. They're playing well with Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs unironically played a good game against a good defense on Sunday, and I gotta admit, it's starting to look like they might actually be some kind of a threat. They don't even have Justin Jefferson back. So I'm torn. I can go one way or the other here. At the end of the day, the Vikings losing does help us in some ways. I mean, the Vikings are an NFC team that is in contention for the playoffs as well, but the Vikings are in contention for a wild card spot. That's the difference. So it depends on your perspective here, but I'll feel a lot better if and when the Vikings actually fall off. And maybe they won't. Maybe they're just good. Packers Steelers, good outcome here. We wanted the Packers to kind of just get executed, and I think this game pretty much did it. I don't see the Packers getting involved in any kind of a playoff race at this point. And yeah, shuts the door on them pretty good. Titans Bucks would have been nice if Tennessee came through here. Didn't happen. They couldn't get anything going on offense. Buccaneers remain very much alive, and I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. But with that win, they we need to start taking them at least a little bit seriously. I don't want to go too far with it. I don't want to go too crazy with it, but they are what they're the eighth seed right now, I think. So keep an eye on them. 49ers Jaguars, this was the one we really would have liked to have, and it went as poorly as can be imagined. 49ers dominated on the road in Jacksonville, flew 3,000 miles to beat the crap out of the Jaguars and went back home. So, yep, Niners look a lot better now. And yeah, there's nothing else to say about that game. We wanted it to go the other way, and it went this way. So, not ideal, not good. Browns Ravens. I didn't think this one really mattered at all. We've already played both teams. We only play each team once. It's AFC, like whatever. This one I don't think meant anything. I'll tell you what did mean something though. This Falcons Cardinals game, very juicy here. This was a big one. And it may not seem like a big deal now, but this game could come back huge at the end of the season for both teams. The Falcons are fading, and the Cardinals are kind of surging. So the Falcons at 4-6 are now third in their division behind Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Now, every team in that division has clear problems, but the Falcons are not taking care of business in the games that they're supposed to win. They were supposed to win this game. Remember when I said in my videos earlier that I thought the Falcons were a contender for the playoffs, it was because they had an easy schedule. Well, you just lost to the Cardinals. So your easy schedule isn't doing you that much if you can't even take care of business against one of the worst teams in the league. So Atlanta is fading fast, and if they don't turn it around quickly, even their easy schedule can't save them. So that was big. And the Cardinals winning, I mean, it knocked them all the way down to the fourth pick. They got 3 teams ahead of them now, including the Giants, who I really don't think is even going to have a chance to win another game this year. It's like when you've got Tommy DeVito as your starting quarterback, I don't even know if it can be said that you're trying to win games. I mean, it's not full on tanking, but it's partial tanking. It'd be like if the Seahawks lost Geno Smith and Drew Lock to injury and just decided we're going to let DJ Dallas or Michael Dixon be our quarterback the rest of the year. That's basically just saying we want to lose. If you actually wanted to win, you'd go sign somebody like say a Carson Wentz or just some random backup quarterback who's floating around out there. You'd go try to pull Phillip Rivers out of retirement. But no, they're going with Tommy DeVito. It feels like they're just tanking. So the Cardinals, I know they may not be able to get Caleb anyway, but that first top pick is going to be very valuable regardless. And these wins are going to push them out of it. So this was big. This was a nice one. Chargers could not help us out. Lions win. Again, the Lions almost certainly are going to win their division, so we're not competing with them for a wild card spot. But if we do win our division, then that can matter. Because we beat the Lions, we only need to tie them to pass them in seeding. But the Lions' schedule the rest of the way is pretty soft. They should win most of their games. Giants Cowboys. We did want the Giants to win, but that's such a waste of time to even think about in a game like this. It really is. So what I will say is that the Giants losing pushed them to number 2 in the draft, which is great. Doesn't really affect the Seahawks that much if they get the top pick, which at this point I suspect they will. I kind of feel like that Giants team is just going to lose out, and I think Carolina's got a win or two in them. I just do. But we'll see how it breaks out exactly. And yeah, that was the silver lining there. Even though, yes, we should pretty much always want the Cowboys to lose because they're in the wild card race with us. Jets, Raiders, there wasn't really a lot here from my perspective to root for between these two teams. We don't play either team. They're both AFC teams, so I kind of just shrugged my shoulders here. Monday night, the only rooting interest we really had was the 3rd round pick. And by the way, that is now back in play because the Broncos are winning games and the Saints are struggling. So it's now within the realm of possibility that we could get the Broncos pick. But I still think it's unlikely. If you look at the Broncos' remaining schedule, I still think they're going to struggle to even get to 8 wins. And you're going to need more than 8 wins to make the playoffs in the AFC. So it was thin, technically a bad outcome. But AFC on AFC is usually low stakes. So that's your recap of the way things went down for the week in terms of rooting interest, objectively speaking. And to look at the playoff picture right now, to look at the playoff picture the way it's broken out right now, we've got kind of 7 teams that they've really pushed themselves forward as the clear favorites to make it. Like it feels like the NFC has their 7 teams, and there's time for stuff to change. But you've got Philly, Detroit, San Fran, New Orleans leading the divisions. New Orleans is kind of flaky, but as long as they get Derek Carr back, I still think they're probably going to win that division because Atlanta and Tampa haven't really done that much to take it from them while they're floundering. And then at the wild card, you pretty firmly Seahawks, Cowboys, Vikings. No team is really close to taking that wild card spot. Tampa Bay is a game and a half back. Washington is a full 2 games back, and Atlanta's 2 games back, and the other teams aren't even really worth talking about right now. So honestly, it kind of feels like we have our 7 teams. The only real shakeup I think could happen in the NFC North, I guess, but unless something turns around with one of these teams, and you look at these teams, like Washington traded away 2 of their key defenders at the deadline. They made themselves worse. Atlanta is playing their worst football right now. Tampa Bay is leaning heavily on getting a pretty good season out of Baker Mayfield, which probably won't last. If anything, these teams look like they're going to go the other way. So it is starting to look like we have our 7 playoff teams in the NFC, and Seattle can kind of feel comfortable they're at least getting in. Now, how are they going to get in and how are we going to feel about that is a different story. So that's my rundown of the playoff picture. It's actually looking pretty clear, but that doesn't mean we can lay down and take anything easy the rest of the way, of course. See you guys later. Go Hawks.